Hello everybody, my name's Starrapter. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Star Wars Canon. What's canon, you may ask? Well, it's anything that ties back into the movies, so this could be anything such as TV series, novels, comics, and to the video games. And with this week, I first want to start off by talking about we had another episode of Rebels titled Iron Squadron. This is episode 7 of season 3. So what basically happened in this episode is the Rebels actually happened to come upon this planet that is being harassed by the Empire, but there is this one lone ship that's flying around and trying to repel the Imperials, and this just so happens to be the nephew of Commander Sato. So the rebels try to intervene, and it turns out that this kid doesn't want to leave his planet. He wants to stay there and protect him, and the Imperials keep sending more and more larger forces to the point where even Thrawn intervenes, and that's at the point where the kid finally says, okay, maybe I should, run away and just leave this planet to the Empire, because the kid was naive and he didn't want to leave. So that's basically the episode in a nutshell. To me, and I'm going to go into it now, it was a bit of a shallow episode. Yes, it had some cool things in it, but for me, it just didn't really push the story forward in ways that I really wanted it to at this point of the season. But I'll start off on a good note here. I want to first start off by talking about one of my favorite vehicles is brought out of the EU, out of Legends, and that is the YT-2400. Some of you might know it as the Outrider, which was Dash Rendar's ship, which was one of my favorite characters in the EU. So I was really disappointed when we find out that the person that was piloting the ship wasn't Dash Rendar. I think they should have used Dash Rendar, especially since we don't have Han Solo in this series. It'd be kind of cool to have that smuggler, being that some people call Dash Rendar Han Diet, or Diet Han, or Diet, it's kind of the same character in a sense. But yeah, I was really disappointed. But I really did enjoy seeing the YT-2400. It's very reminiscent of the Millennium Falcon, and it sure does pack a punch, even though these kids kind of let it run down to the ground. It doesn't even have a hyperdrive at that point. They just let the thing kind of tarnish away. The only other good thing I really liked about the episode was we did see more Thrawn. I mean, Thrawn, he really, you can't get more of a good personification of the character in this series. I really do believe they went above and beyond with casting Thrawn, and this guy does an awesome performance as Thrawn. He sends out his own officer to go deal with these rebels, and it's kind of funny because he puts this guy in his place. I think his name was Constantine or something like that, and he sends him out there to try to stop the rebels, and of course the rebels get away, and this is to Thrawn saying, look, we're not going to really do anything until we can get these rebels all together, and then we'll just crush them. So another win, type of win for the rebels, but and this leads me into what I really didn't like about the episode. The episode, definitely, I didn't like this new character, this kid, this nephew of Commander Sato. I feel like he just was a bit of a brat, really annoying, just super naive. He thinks he's like doing such an awesome job taking out a Star Destroyer. He keeps saying, I took out a Star Destroyer, and it's not really a Star Destroyer, it's like a little transport. Like, oh, good job, kid, you really made a difference. And he's just so sure of himself. And, the rebels really didn't need to waste their time with these stupid kids. If it wasn't because he was the nephew of Commander Sato, I would have just left them there. Like, screw you guys. If you don't want to come back with us, yeah, you're going to soon meet your demise. Yeah, this episode, guys, is just my low of the season. Really don't have much more to say about it. But if you guys have more to say, be sure to let me know in that comment section below. But that wasn't all we had this week in Star Wars Canon. We had the ending to 2 different comic series arcs. First off, I want to talk about Star Wars number 25. I mean, this was the last Flight of the Harbinger, part 5. Okay, so just to summarize this arc, the rebels were tasked to steal a Star Destroyer so they can get close enough to this blockaded planet to drop off relief supplies, and they'd be out of there before anybody realized they were there, type thing. Well, of course, nothing ever goes that easy with anything. So at this point in part 5, they have been boarded by Squadron, the elite stormtrooper corps of soldiers. But there's also been the presence of Darth Vader that has come to the realization that Luke is on board the Star Destroyer. Okay, so you have a bunch of different character paths going on at the same time. You got the Star Destroyer, it doesn't have the ion cannons, It doesn't have shields. One of his engines is gone. This thing is pretty much just floating in space, and they're trying to give cover fire for these escape pods that are going to go down to the planet for these people, because they'd be picked off before they realize if they don't have cover fire from all these TIE fighters flying around. So you got that, with Han and Leia worrying about that. You have Luke Skywalker in a duel with Sergeant Creel. Yes, a stormtrooper with a green bladed lightsaber. It doesn't get much more badass than that, right? I mean, it's really, really cool. Yeah, you have R2, which is pretty cool. He's trying to like fight for control of the Star Destroyer, but at the same time, you have one of the members of Squadron that's also trying to hack in and try to get in. He's like, what's going on? Like, somebody who was on the other side of this thing is doing an awesome job. I'm going to shake their hand after shooting them in the face a couple times, because they are doing a commendable job with controlling the Star Destroyer. I thought that's pretty funny. But yeah, in the long run, basically what happens is Luke Skywalker and the rest of the rebels, they succeed. Their mission is a success. However, C-3PO does get captured, and on the Imperial side of things, Darth Vader is not pleased with Squadron. They should have captured Luke, because that was Creel's job from Vader himself, the big man, is, hey, I want you to steal this kid named Luke Skywalker and bring him back to me unscathed. And he fails, and we all know what happens when somebody fails Vader. You usually don't end up breathing too much longer after that. But anyway, this is a really, really awesome issue. I like this arc, this whole arc of Star Wars. It was really, really good. I'm going to get into my positives of this issue. I just briefly went over it. Was the whole R2. R2 is the unsung hero of Star Wars. He's always saving the day, doing something kind of minuscule in the background, but without him doing that, nothing else would have ever happened. So we also have that great heroic moment where R2 is just like piloting the Star Destroyer all by himself. The stormtrooper's complaining about how he can't get control because R2 on the other end's doing it the whole time. I want to talk about Luke Skywalker's confrontation with Creel, Sergeant Creel. So, this guy goes all the way back to the Nar Shaddaa showdown arc. He's been proficient with melee weapons, actually lightsabers to be specific. So yes, he actually is getting to the point where he's about to beat Luke into submission. And right when he's about to, I guess, do the knockout blow, Luke lashes out with the Force and just has a humongous Force push, which I think it's indicated that he actually shakes the ship with how much Force power he used, because then in the next panel, Han's saying like, oh wow, there's a lot of going on out there, we got to do this fast because there's a huge tremor. Well, I think it was Luke that did that, and to me, that indicates something that's going to happen with Luke in Episode 8. I think Luke has an incredible potential to use the Force to the point where he can move large objects. The only reason why he did it this time is because he was scared for his life, and in fear he was able to channel the Force for that fraction of a second. Not that he had the power to actually command that himself. So I really liked how they kind of like teased us with what's to come with Luke. Obviously, we know Return of the Jedi becomes super powerful, but right now in the sequel trilogy, we do not know the extent to his power. So I really think that we're going to see some incredible things in Episode 8 for sure. And speaking of Luke, I want to talk about real quickly, they were in space. You have Vader's TIE Advance, you have Luke's X-Wing, and Luke wants to take out Vader. He wants to kill him, but they don't really have the power to do that. They're trying to escape all the rebels now. Their mission is complete. Luke says, I need to deal with Vader. We're not leaving until we deal with Vader. But I think it was Leia that talked him out of it, or somebody did, saying like, look, we don't have the power to do this. Did you see what this guy did in the Vader Down comic series? He took out like a whole squadron of X-Wings himself. So what do you think Luke could do with that? You know what I mean? But it was cool because you do see like that quick exchange. Where in this issue itself, you do see that Vader is like, he actually can feel Luke's presence in the Force, and he's saying like, wow, he is actually very powerful in the Force for real. And also, I want to talk about Creel with Vader at the end there. I thought it was pretty cool because usually most people cower to Vader that are employed by the Empire. They all know Vader, and he scares the hell out of everybody because he kills them. But Creel, he's like, yeah, we failed, but I managed to chop off my arm, and we lost a couple of our people, so it was a loss. We're gonna get him next time, type of thing. And that was really cool because he actually got pinned under all this wreckage, and he actually was forced to cut off his arm with the lightsaber to get out of there before the Star Destroyer escaped. So another reason why Sergeant Krill is a complete badass. So I expect to see him with some kind of cybernetic arm the next time we see him, because I'm sure we're not going to, leave from here on out. We're going to see more of Krill for sure. Only one negative I had about this issue, and it is kind of plausible, but the way it was done was kind of weird, was when Han and Leia actually went into outer space. And what bothered me about it is they didn't have any kind of environmental suit. All they had was a simple oxygen mask. Granted, they probably weren't in space very long because the Falcon was right there to pick them up. But still, you would have thought that they could have frozen to death. And the funny part was there was no indication of how in danger they were. They were just talking like normal people. They weren't shivering or gasping for air or anything like that. They were literally just they were in atmosphere, but they were in outer space, and that bothered me a little bit. I mean, then again, if you're looking at other sources for canon to see how this is plausible, which is the only reason I say that, is in a recent episode of Star Wars Rebels, there was that point when Darth Maul force pushed Kanan into outer space. He was outside for a matter of 20 seconds. Now, maybe that's what happened to Han and Leia. They might have been in space for a couple seconds. Again, this is a huge nitpick, considering I'm talking about a fantasy world, a fantasy galaxy here, where our physics don't really apply to there. So you just kind of have to leave it at that. But I thought it was a little bit odd. But that is going to do it for Star Wars number 25. I'm really excited because next month we're going to have the beginning of a new arc that's going to explore Yoda's younger age. Well, not really younger age, but before the events of Phantom Menace. So I'm really looking forward to that. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought of Star Wars 25. And that wasn't all we had in Star Wars canon this week. The last thing I want to talk to you guys about is the final issue of the Han Solo miniseries. This is issue number 5. So, Han Solo, to sum it all up, he's been given a task by Leia Organa to go in this race, this Dragon Void race, where he's going to use that as his cover to basically round up these rebel spies that have really good Imperial information. So in this specific issue, we have the Imperials are really right on Han Solo and the 3 other people that are in the race, and basically they're going through the most difficult part. They have this gateway, and they have to get through this gateway, and then whoever goes through that first is basically the winner, because it teleports them back to the entrance. So this whole time we are also dealing with, on the Millennium Falcon itself, we have somebody that killed somebody in the last issue. So we get down to the roots of who that killer was and what they do with them. But in general, I thought this was an awesome story. Han Solo really gets through some tough changes with himself. He discovers himself, and that's why I'm going to go into my positives now of this issue. So first of all, I want to talk about this alien. Her name is called Lurianu, and she's she's supposedly the last one of her species, which we later find out in this issue she isn't, because all of her other people are on the other side of that warp gate, and they've been there for this whole time. So, I really like how she also uses this technology, because at one point in the beginning of the issue, again, the Imperials are right on top of them. It doesn't look like it's good for these guys in the race. They're all going to be taken out or, captured. But Lirianu does something with her ship where she opens up another dimension, and these creatures, jellyfish creatures, come out, and they distract the Imperials for just enough time so the racers can get out of there and kind of get a more of a lead on them. So that was interesting. And I think Lirianu is just is basically the catalyst for Han Solo's decision to stay with the rebellion. Remember, guys, this is right after the Battle of Yavin. We all knew that Han Solo was going to take that money and run, but this last mission from Leia is the mission that kind of got Han to think, is it going to be so bad to work for the rebellion, or should I just remain an independent smuggler and go about my ways of being in solitude? And Lirianu really gives him the wisdom about, hey, look, maybe it's not that bad working with others. And that was really cool for me. I really liked how they bridged that gap with this new character for Han to kind of think about. Of course, I liked the issue with the high stakes of the Empire. They were trying to... These racers are trying... It's hard enough for them to win this race without the distraction of the Empire trying to kill them at the same time. So really interesting. Again, a Dragon Void Gate, something new in Star Wars. It kind of reminds me of almost the first kind of hyperspace sort of thing, or like something from Mass Effect with like the big citadel. Yeah, really cool. I liked how they actually had the army of the Lirianu's people like come out of the other side of the gate. Because what happens is Han Solo lets her go first at the end. He could have won the race, but he chose against it. He chose from being selfish to let her win because she was last of her race. She got hit already from some kind of laser. She was going to die. He lets her in there. And, you know, sometimes when you make a sacrifice, it pays off in the end. And what happens was she remembered what Han did for her, and she came back to save him and the other racers from the Imperials who would have surely killed him. So that was a really great moment. And that to me is just like this miniseries in general, right? This miniseries, I think, is the best one that Marvel's put out. Yeah, I said it. I think it is the best one that Marvel put out. I really liked Lando, but this one, this is one of those stories. When I heard it announced, I was like, they're gonna give us a Han Solo story, in between A New Hope and Empire. Like, we don't have enough stuff in there already. Like, you guys want to branch off somewhere else? And then after the first issue, I was hooked with this whole racing aspect of Han, which we've never seen before. We know he ran the Kessel run in like under 13 parsecs, but I mean, this is a really great issue. This is a really great miniseries. Like I said, it really just fleshes out the character of Han in between A New Hope and Empire, because believe it or not, there is a lot of character development. This story alone will help you understand. So that is going to do it for me, Starrapter. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you always. So, did you like the video? Then make sure you rate it a thumbs up, and if you did that, go over there, hit that Starrapter head so you subscribe to my channel. Doing so will keep you up to speed on all of my latest content, speaking of which you can see a couple of my recent uploads down below. I'm also on social media, so what are you waiting for? Let's start nerding out.